I used to be embarrassed because I was just a comic book writer while the other people were building bridges or going on to medical careers. Then I began to realize entertainment is one of the most important things in people's lives. Without it, they might go off the deep end. I feel that if you're able to entertain people, you're doing a good thing.
You like that? You like my Stan Lee impression? Because that's what it was. Hi, my name is Ariane Dominique Rashad, otherwise known as MeToons, and I've been kind of straddled with some thoughts as of late. Currently, I'm creating a mock-up visual for an old idea I had way back in the 2010s called Zeros, a anime and cartoon-infused love letter to everything about animation and comics and video games that I love, and just meshing it all in an amazing world of Gumball-styled, hyper-fixated mess. It's basically what I would do if I created my version of a perfect cartoon to me. Action, humor, just fun, relatable characters, and a complete and total celebration of art, and what it does to people and how it brings people from all different walks of life together. That's why everybody is their own unique style. Everyone is born from different parts of the world, and those different parts of the world end up shaping the visual style they take on. You know, Brussels, for instance. You know, green and red, but his style is a lot more reminiscent of that of Class of 3000 and a lot of, you know, iconic black cartoons from the time. Avi, you know, he's supposed to be our action boy, so to speak. He's our, you know, entry into this world, so he has sort of like a Danny Phantom 2000s action boy cartoon aesthetic. It's very blocky, very, very clean line art from the 2000s. Coco, our wild card, heavily inspired by the gorgeous work of Mexican cartoonist Jorge Gutierrez, Mucha Lucha, El Tigre, Book of Life, Maya and the Three, all that jazz. Absolutely love his work. And this is a complete, total homage to that front. And there are other characters as well, representing the Japanese side of things, which you will see very soon. You know, I found it fitting to quote Stan Lee, creator of some of the best superhero characters in all of fiction. But I also felt like it was incredibly important. Remember, he was talking about what a lot of artists, I think, probably feel, in that maybe their path as artists is not nearly as valuable as, say, people in medicine or in any sort of medical field or in any sort of political field, that sort of thing. It can be very easy to look at what we do, especially if you make something, akin to cartoons and anime, for instance, stylistically speaking, and think that, what I'm doing isn't inherently important in comparison to those big picture jobs, quote unquote. And I think that is a big load of malarkey. A bunch of hippy-tippy baloney, if you will. Why do I say that? I think it's because look at how art has completely changed the world around us. So much so to the point where I bet you most of your conversations with your friends are probably based on references to something art related. A TV show is art. A movie is art. A video game is a piece of art. A comic book is a piece of art. All of those things that you probably reference a whole bunch within your friend group, or even just to yourself, that is a sign that art has impact. That is a sign that art means something to you and to so many other people. So much so to the point where you feel the need to inject it into anything at any chance you get. If that isn't a sign of it, I don't know what is. But I can go further. You know, hey, what shirt do you have on? What shirt do you have on? You know, designers had to make that shirt, right? Artists had to make that shirt before properly, you know, turning it into wearable fabrics, into wearable cloth. It had to be designed by someone with an artistic vision for a piece of clothing. The Met Gala is the pinnacle of making artsy dresses and fashion for the sake of it and letting some of the biggest celebrities flex it. That is literally the entire crux of that entire event. Flexing different wares with people you know. That is a big mesh of art. The celebrities themselves being the artists, you know, they're actors, they're musicians, and then the clothing that they're wearing. That's art. It's all art. Your favorite video game is a combination of a bunch of different artists coming together to make an experience that means something to you. That wasn't just made by one person. I know we like to attribute certain developers or, you know, certain directors of games or movies as the sole reason those exist, but that's not true. They are team efforts completely and truly. And I feel like we need to acknowledge that. All of these things are incredibly important because what do? They make you feel things. Specifically in times when the world is seemingly very chaotic or incredibly stressful, you rely on those things. You rely on those things to get you through, because otherwise, buddy, you may feel like you're not going to make it. Otherwise, if you harp on nothing but the bad, you will break under that pressure. You know, I felt it, you felt it. It's very scarily easy to do if you're not careful. And I feel like all the art that we choose to engage with, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. Or that's the light keeping us away from the tunnel in the first place. I've always been kind of confused at how little we value art, so much so to the point where we allow things like AI to come in and potentially threaten our connection with that stuff. When we engage with it and consume it so often, so frequently, that without it we probably wouldn't even be here in safe mental minds. You know how crazy that is? I always found that kind of weird. Very weird. Incredibly weird. Preposterous, even. I think all art has value. It tells you what you like and what you don't like. Even the worst possible piece of art that you can think of, to you personally, that is important. It told you something about yourself when you saw it. I think that's incredibly valuable. The art that you don't connect with tells you a lot about who you are and why you are on this earth. I'm bringing this up primarily as a way of telling to the artists specifically, you guys have value. No matter what people say to you, you hear me? They don't realize what they would do or what they wouldn't do without you. The only reason they don't know that is because we've all been taught that fields like art don't matter. I don't think that's right. I don't think we should be carrying that around. I think we should be praising and celebrating our love for art and life itself. I feel like we don't do that often, and I think it's the fact that we don't do that often that it's very easy for us to not realize just how necessary the things that we consume on a daily are. You are what you eat, right? They that's an old saying that supposedly what you eat says a lot about you. That's true for art as well. The games you play, the books you read, the movies you watch, they are all forms of self-expression. So why in the world are we denying the validity of art in and of itself when we probably would have harder times figuring out who we are as people without that, right? So to all my artsy people, keep creating, please. Keep creating. You mean more to this world than this world itself even realizes. You notice how they start putting stuff in museums everywhere after an artist is gone? You notice how people reflect on, guys like Michael Jackson and how much aura he had just standing there in the middle of a crowd. You realize how much power you gotta have as an artist for that to be the case? You kidding me? And yet art is apparently not valuable. Yeah, right. Pal, keep creating. For yourself and for others. But mostly yourself. Because chances are, if you're enjoying it, other people will too. I think we as humans have an innate ability to detect passion in something when we see it. I think in a general sense, if we connect with something, it's because there's an innate belief or an innate feeling that what we just saw, what we just watched, was valuable in some way, shape, or form. And I feel if you just go in with that positive energy inside of you already, or whatever you're feeling, and you feel it strongly enough that you want to put it out into the world, that is a beautiful thing, and people will be able to detect it completely and truly. So artists, I know times are tough right now. I know you're probably scared, stressed. Oh, trust me, I've been there. I've been there too. But that's why I keep creating. That's why I can't imagine myself not creating. You making art of your OC or art of your favorite character literally changes the world every time somebody sees it. It's simple cause and effect. It's just the way the universe works. You have impact. Whether people realize it or not, you do. Because you could be the very thing stopping someone from thinking the worst possible thoughts about life, about themselves, about other people. You as an artist, we have so much power. We're superheroes. I think any creative person is a superhero. That goes for basically anybody on this site posting stuff. Anybody on the internet posting stuff, sharing anything, an edit that they found funny, that they took time to make, a scary story they decided to tell, a let's play they felt confident enough to share, a piece of commentary they thought was particularly interesting to share, an animator, a musician. All of these people, all of us, we have that in us. So why not use it to help each other not go off the deep end, like Stan Lee said. Artists, you are such valuable people in this world. I just want you to know that always and forever. If you ever feel like what you're making isn't enough or that it doesn't matter, come back to this video, please. And let it be a reminder that your very existence is making the world a better place. Happy drawing, everybody. Happy painting. Happy playing. Happy conversing. Happy singing. Just happy being alive. Your creativity is an act of resistance, and that act of resistance will change everything around you. As long as you have that in your heart, as long as you remember that, well, I think the world is going to be just fine.